I'm going to call the Education and Health Committee to order. The clerk will call the roll. Clerk, close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. A couple of items as far as the process for today. One, we do have 69 bills. There's just never been anything quite like this before this last couple of weeks. The good news on that is the subcommittees have heard about three-quarters of the bills. By tradition, for some of you in the House, we do not have testimony if you've had testimony in the subcommittee. If there is something that is compelling, we will kind of work that out. The subcommittee chairs will present the bill and the action. If your bill to House members was unanimous out of subcommittee, then you most likely do not need to be here, and we will notify you if there's problems, because we're trying to work with everyone in regards to that. The other is that, as always with this committee, we've got a lot of interesting items and more people than can fit into this room. So the other room across the way is open and has video, and also it streams the verbiage across the bottom for anyone that is hearing impaired. Also, in this committee, just to be very clear, working with Senator Locke and Senator Lucas and our side, we do use the clock on a number of items, and we've just all agreed that that's what we're going to do, and it helps us move through legislation. And so if you have an item that is near the end that we need to take up, we very likely will put that clock on there. It's not any disrespect to you. It's just with 69 bills on the final day, we've got to move our way through it. Also, we will first take up the identical bills, and hopefully if any of you have identical bills, that will take care of it. We will then take up some similar bills. Then we will go to the subcommittee report, and Senator Carrico's done a remarkable job, a number of bills there. Then we'll go to health professions, and also then to higher ed. So that's the process. And for some of you that are here, excuse me, with bills that have not gone through any of the subcommittees, that would include Delegate Thomas, O'Quinn, and Byron. Those will be near to the end. Glad to call you guys. Don't want to interrupt your day. So if all those rules work for everyone, we'll begin with the identical bills. I turn the committee's attention to House Bill 1734, which is identical to my bill. This is Delegate Marshall's bill related to school safety, the threat assessment, and the management tool. It came out of this committee 15-0. Is there a motion to report the bill? There's a motion and a second that 1734 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 13, nays 0.
13-0, the bill is reported. Next bill is Delegate Garrett's bill. It is also identical to my bill, which is the Energy Cluster Bill. It passed this committee 15-0. It simply added energy clusters to the 15 other items that are part of the cluster legislation. There's a motion on that bill. Motion is seconded to report the bill. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 13, nays 0.
13-0, the bill is reported. Next up is Bill 2037. This is identical to Senator Peek's bill related to teacher licensure and criteria. Senator Peek worked on this for a good bit on his version. That passed this committee 14-0. Is there a motion on the bill? There's a motion and a second that 2037 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 14, nays 0.
14-0. And that bill is reported. Next up on the identical bills are House Bill 2124. This is identical to Senator Cosgrove's bill. He worked on this related to waivers for evacuations in the case of emergency. We passed this bill 10-3-1. 10-3-1. Is there a motion on that bill? There's a motion and a second that 2124 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 12, nays 3.
12 to 3, the bill is reported. Next up is House Bill 2192. This is a bill that from Delegate Rush that is identical in form to what passed from Stanley and Black. Tom, there's no amendments. Is that right? Just Stanley. All right, so I tell you what, let's do this. Is Delegate Rush here? Let's slow down just enough to hear, what are you doing differently, and help me out, because we worked this out with Stanley, but I know you've been working a little bit, so give me the quick primer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I believe this is identical to Senator Stanley's bill.
Okay,
There is a substitute which will be put in general laws today for, in the House side for Senator Stanley. That was the substitute is clarifying in nature with some punctuation. Claritory. Yes, Senator.
Delegate Rush,
Yes, Senator.
what's different? Because I'm understanding maybe there is a little bit of a
No.
non-technical part.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Chip,
if I may.
Chip Dix on behalf of Atwater and First Floor. So the changes in the substitute are towards the end of the bill, and on page 9, what it does is to incorporate several clarifying edits and request of the school boards and superintendents. And again, there's no concern about that, just clarifying those provisions. The provision I think you're referring to is on page 10, and in the energy portion of this, beginning lines 250 to 263, the language in lines 251 to 256 has been clarified and rewritten with the request of the utility lawyers and the other folks, and that language doesn't change the substance of that. Paragraph B on lines 257 through 259, there was a provision that referenced whether or not there would be excess electricity generated, whereas the purpose of this bill, one of the purposes of this bill on page 9 on line 226 was to have energy positive school buildings built with excess energy being able to be sold back to the utilities. So there was a phrase on line 259 that was edited out that said, and effectively could contradict that.
Okay.
And then lines 260 through 263 basically was language added by Commerce and Labor on several other bills this year that makes it clear that there can be, if a school division does a solar project, that others don't have to pay for any excess cost. I would also observe that there's a federal law that says that utilities will buy energy up to 20 megawatts from a particular generator, and this does not change the federal law in that respect. The utilities are present and prepared to support the bill. I'm not aware of any opposition to the bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Rush.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senator Stanley has agreed to these declaratory statements.
That's not always a good thing.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
I said hesitantly.
Mr.
Chairman. I guess, Mr. Chairman, my point is that this should be the same bill being taken up this afternoon in general laws.
Senator Cosgrove.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Even though we hear that Senator Stanley is indeed comfortable with this, I'm not comfortable making this type of a substitute change in the bill that we already passed out of here. It would be my preference that we conform your bill to Senator Stanley's, and then you all work it out in a conference or something. But I mean, we just don't have the time to really take a deep dive into this one this morning. So it would be my motion to conform to Senator Stanley's bill, and then if Senator Stanley wants to offer an amendment on the floor, he can do so.
My bill is the same, so if you just pass my bill without the substitute, it would be the same as Senator
That's
Stanley.
kind of a technical problem. Let me ask Senator Cosgrove, because Chip and I have been going, John, back and forth on exactly the same thing. In other words, if we're going to end up hitting and dinging the taxpayers and deeming in the public interest and all that kind of stuff, that's an SEC matter, right? Yes. I think that we have gotten some answers to that. Delegate Rush, not to inconvenience you, I know you're as busy as anyone. Do you mind if we let this go by temporarily? I'm wondering if we could not work our way through the questions that some of us have.
Miss-
I think we're pretty close on that, and we could get to it. Senator Peterson.
This is going to be this is a complicated concept, and we spent some time on it pre-crossover. What I'd kind of like to suggest is if we pass a substitute, you'll agree to just put it into conference, and then we can have some conferees to kind of hash this out in final. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, we'd have to get an agreement from Senator Stanley to do the same, because I wouldn't want his to go forward and yours not.
Absolutely.
So, I tell you what, let us go by temporarily. We'll call you when we come back. Chip, can you work with some guys to make sure we understand this a little better? And the key thing is that you have put in, at my request, that the solar has to be located on the school facility. So the school's not going to say, I've got this farm I'm going to do, and that's going to be deemed in the public interest and much purchased back. That helps. Also, the language on page 9, when we get down to it, I think will help. So if you don't mind, sir, let's let it go by temporarily.
Yeah,
and
Mr.
we'll
Chairman,
catch up.
that's fine. And I'd add that, changing the math on the school construction, the solar part is a small part of it. A lot of it has to do with opportunity zones and tax credits that the
Yeah.
federal government gives. So that's where we actually changed the math for the school construction.
And I think this committee has embraced your and Senator Stanley's idea as an innovative, great approach. I know it's similar to a North Carolina approach. Let's keep working. We'll get there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Without objection, the bill go by temporarily. All right, very good. Next up, we will jump over 2192, and we'll go to similar bills. First up is Delegate Cole's bill. This bill is very close to the bill that we passed, you'll recall, from Senator Reeves. This is 1623. 1623. There's been some technical amendments that the House has put on that is actually corrective of the bill. And if we pass this bill, then the Senate version will be put into the same manner. This bill passed 15-0. Is there a motion on the bill? This motion is second. The bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up is 1704. 1704, this is a bill that is very close to Senator Donovan's bill. When I was looking at this bill last night and yesterday, it appears that the Senate has a couple of different measures in it, and it might be more convenient if we just conform the bill and if we went into conference if there's a difference. Senator Donovan, is that correct? All right, is there a motion on the bill? All right, so motion is second that we conform Senate Bill 1704. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. The bill's conformed. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? So motion is second that 1704 be reported as amended. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Excuse me. Next up is a similar, that we probably need the Senate's version. It's House Bill 1807. This is the bill related to basic aid and the duration of the agreements. You'll remember that Senator Hanger had this related to kind of his locality. What we would, if we don't need to send this up to finance if we fix it by adapting it to the Senate version. Senator Hanger's bill passed out of here 15-0. Is there a motion to conform the bills? There's a motion is second. We conform 1807 to the Senate bill. And Senator Hanger, all those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. Bill's conformed. The motion is second that the bill, that being 1807, be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up is a bill that does need to go to finance. This is Delegate Robinson's bill. It's 1972. This is the prepaid college tuition contracts. You'll recall Senator Hanger had some versions of this that he put through. In discussions, it appears that Senator Hanger agrees that the House version has corrected a couple of small errors in the bill. Is there a motion to no? So if we do pass the bill, if we pass it in the House's version and re-refer to finance, that will be conformed in the House to that version when Senator Hangers goes by there. So this bill passed through us unanimously. Is there a motion to pass and re-refer to finance? So moved. This motion is second in 1972 be reported and referred to finance. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up, we have House Bill 2053. This is Delegate McQuinn's bill, and this bill is very close to the one that we sent out with Dance and Black. We passed this out with the clause on it, and I'm understanding that if we put the clause on the bill, then one, we can get it into conference. And the reason why, for some of you that, and Delegate, is we want to make sure that the code doesn't say something like 1 to 250, when all we're doing is maybe financing after we're done here, 1 to 375. It just kind of isn't being kind of factual in the code. So if we can work this out in conference, because we've got money in the Senate budget, Senator Howe and others helped us get that number up, and you've got $27 million in your budget, and we can get that to the right number, that'll work. Is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Great,
Thank you.
great. So with that, is there a motion that we amend the bill and put the clause on the bill? So motion is second that the clause be added to the bill. All those in favor will say aye. Those no. And the bill is now amended. And those in favor of passing the bill as amended would make a motion to do that.
And we refer.
All right, there's a motion, second. My motion maker, my motion maker slowed down. So, all right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported and re-referred to finance. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
All right, thank you, and happy Valentine's Day.
Well, you look beautiful today. Thank you
Yeas
very much.
14, nays 1.
14 to 1. The bill is reported and re-referred to finance. Next up is 2219. This is similar to my bill related to truth in advertising for nursing homes. You'll recall that the Press Association came to us and just wanted a small amendment, and so that is already embedded in the House bill, and it is now on my bill. So therefore, this committee reported out to my bill 15-0. This is identical to the current version of my bill as it is in the House. Is there a motion on the bill? So motion is second that 2219 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Next up is House Bill 2384. 2384. This is a bill related to tobacco products, and it's passed out of this committee 11-3. It relates to vaping products in schools. Once again, it was 11-3. The technical changes that have taken place on Senator Spruill's bill in the House would line up with the version that we have in front of us today. Is there a motion to report the bill? So motion is second at 2384 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. All right, next up is 2589. 2589, this bill is a bill that Senator Eben had. We passed it out of here 15-0. This relates to the membership on the Teacher Education Licensure Advisory Board. I think that the Senate version is the one that fully reflects this committee's work. Is there a motion to conform? There's a motion second. We conform 2589 to the Senate version, which Senator Evans. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the bill is conformed. There's a motion second that we report the bill as amended. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported as amended. Next is House Bill 2609. This is a bill related to school resource officers. Senator Locke, I think they talked to you, ma'am, and you want to go with the version that Tom has worked out, okay? And they're going to do the same for you. We'll just make sure we line those up. This is Delegate Jones's bill, and so Tom, yeah, do you have amendments, or you want to do amendments upstairs? All right, if you don't, Senator Delegate Jones, we're going to kind of take Mrs. Locke's advice.
Okay.
We're going to send it upstairs because the amendments that we need are just a little complicated. It has to go to finance anyway. We'll work with you. If you don't mind working with Tom, sharing with you what Senator Locke would like to do, we'll do that. But we will send it up there without the amendments, but we'll work on you there. So
Absolutely. Thank you.
this committee passed this bill, you may remember, 11-4, and this was related to resource officers, and we had standards and the method that we did the standards we had discussed in the bill. Is there a motion that we report and re-refer into finance? There's a motion second. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0. Okay, we're going to jump over 2137, 2140, 2223, and 2766. Those are bills that we're going to discuss at the end of the day. I'm wondering if Senator Carrico, do you mind going? And then we'll pick up after that with, you going to be here for a little while? Okay. We'll pick up with Senator Sasloff. So Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Subcommittee on Public Education met twice last week for several bills. First is House Bill 2486. This is Delegate Robinson's bill. There's a motion to roll Delegate Hope's 1643 into her bill. Hers was broader, and I would move that amendment.
There's a motion and a second that 1643 be rolled into 2486. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll. Senator Carrico.
Yea 15, nays 0.
Right. The substitute would then require the Board of Education and regulations providing for licensure by reciprocity. It establishes the guidelines to process to permit the school boards and any other organization sponsored by school boards to petition the board for approval for alternative route to licensure.
Okay.
The bill was reported as a substitute from the committee on a 5-0 vote.
Move the substitute.
Yeah, I would move the substitute.
There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Senator Carrico.
The bill was reported 5-0 in the substitute, and I'd so move.
There's a motion and a second that the bill as amended be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0. Senator Carrico.
Next was House Bill 1753, Delegate Sickles' bill. This was dealing with electronic room petitions. We heard testimony from a grandparent whose son was killed. Basically, this is for prohibiting school employees from opening and closing those petitions while they are occupied by students. The bill also requires the Board of Education to make available to each school board model safety guidelines. The question was asked if this could be done without legislation, and it was stated that they had to be directed by a code to do so. So the committee voted on a 5-0 vote to. Oh, I'm sorry, there is a line amendment.
All right, Tom will report to the line amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Carrico, line 29, after the strike board, insert Department of Education.
All right, is there a motion on the amendment?
So moved.
Motion is second that the amendment be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the amendment's agreed to. Senator Carrico.
The bill was recommended to report as amended on 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
This motion is second that 1753 Delegate Sickles' bill be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 14, nays 0.
14-0, the bill is reported. Peterson, you'll be an aye. Senator Peterson, Senator Peterson, you okay to be aye? Very weak, yes. Very weak, okay. We'll get you as a light green. Okay. All right, next up, Senator Carrico.
Next was Delegate Ranson's bill requires the Public School Records Oversight Committee to confirm with the school boards and divisions of superintendents and submit to the chairman of the House Committee and Education Committee no later than November 1st, 2019 recommendations on ways which school boards and school employees can better promote efficiency and cost effectiveness, and it was reported on a 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
Motion is second, 1788 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, bill's reported. Senator Carrico.
House Bill 1881 is Delegate Keem's bill. This is a bill that requires Virginia Foundation for Healthy Youth to develop and the Department of Education to distribute each local school division's materials concerning health and safety risks of tobacco products, vaping, and alternative nicotine products. And the bill requires instructions concerning the health and safety risk of that. It was reported on a 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
There's a motion and a second that 1881 be reported. All those in favor, record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next was House Bill 1997. This is Delegate Price's bill dealing with protective orders requiring any school principals who receive notice that a circuit court or a general district court, juvenile court, or magistrate has issued a protective order of a child, that they have knowledge of that, and that the principals have the order, knowing what child and the conditions of the supervision is. It was reported on a 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
So Senator Carrico, this is principals just notifying teachers of these situations?
Yes.
Okay, very good. There's a motion and a second that that bill, which is 1997, be reported. All those in favor, record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next was House Bill 2107, Delegate Ranson. And this bill requires local school boards to develop and implement policies to ensure parents the right to review any audio-visual materials that contain graphic or sexual violent content used in anti-bullying and suicide prevention programs. The bill was reported on a 4-1 vote, and I'd so move.
There's a motion and a second the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Carrico. Clerk, close the roll.
Yeas 13, nays 1, abstentions 1.
13-1-1, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next was House Bill 2123. It permits each local school board to enter into college and career access pathways. There might be a new amendment, I'm not sure.
I think the bill just needs to go to finance. I think that's the
Right.
biggest item. So, continue on, sir.
Yes, Tom, you have an amendment?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Carrico,
Oh, yeah.
Delegate Carol Foy, I believe, wants a second enactment.
Yes, there is the bill passed unanimously. However, there is a friendly amendment brought to me by the Community College Association. And the amendment just clarifies that this bill should not be construed to mean that students who benefit from this bill will be eligible for funding from the New Economy Workforce Credential Grant Program.
Tom, give us the effect of that amendment or report it, because that's the first I've heard of it. It may be okay.
They just
haven't
told
heard.
us about it, I want to say yesterday.
Okay, thank you very much. Tom,
Mr. Chairman, after line 267, it's a second enactment. It says that nothing in the provisions of this act shall be construed to deem any student who participates in any course pursuant to a college and career access pathways partnership eligible for a grant pursuant to the New Economy Workforce Credential Grant Program of Chapter 6, Title 23.1 of the Code. It says that students participating in these college and career access pathways aren't deemed eligible for that grant program.
I wonder if the delegate would not mind if we just, it's going to finance, we'll work on that, make sure we understand the import. It sounds okay, but we'll maybe do it between now and finance. I'll be glad to work with you on getting that done.
Sounds amazing.
All right, so motion is second on the bill.
It's recommended to report and refer to finance, and I'd so move.
Motion is second that 2123 be reported and we refer to finance. All those in favor, record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Thank you.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Thanks for coming by. 15-0, the bill is reported and re-referred. Next is Senator Cosgrove.
House
sorry.
Bill 2147, the standards for accreditation. It aligns the state review process of underperforming schools and school divisions with the new standards of accreditations adopted by the Board of Education. It was recommended report on 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
Okay, cleanup bill, there's a motion second that 2147 be reported. All those in favor, record your votes aye. Those opposed, no, and the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, bills reported. Senator Carrico.
House Bill 2205, this is dealing with family life education consent. It requires high school family life education curriculums offered by local school divisions to incorporate age-appropriate elements of effect and evidence-based programs on law and meaning of consent. Current laws, such elements are permissive in any high school family life curriculum, and it was recommended that we report. Oh, I'm sorry, there is an amendment.
All right, there's a motion. Tom, what's the amendment, just so we understand?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple technical amendments. On line 18, after on, insert Romanet 1. On line 20, after incorporate, strike the remainder of line 20 and through the word on line 21 and insert Romanet 2.
Motion on the amendments. There's a motion, second on the amendments be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. And the amendments are agreed to. And there's motion second the bill be reported as amended. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported as amendment. Senator Carrico.
Next is House Bill 2222. It's a bill that we've seen a couple of times, allowing local school boards to display advertisement on the school buses, messages of Healthy, Hungry, Free Kids Act, tobacco use harms, the harmful uses of tobacco, and all the things that, messages that are being advertised on the buses have to be approved by the local school boards, and it's optional for them. It was recommended report on a 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
This motion is second that 2222 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will, the clerk will destroy the roll. There's a motion is second that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 7, nays 8.
7 to 8, the bill is not reported. Can there be a motion second we reconsider that vote? I will move and no one else, just because I told the delegates if they're not
Mr.
here,
Chair,
to kill their bill.
Having voted on the prevailing side, I move to reconsider the vote.
Motion is second that we reconsider House Bill 2222. All those in favor will record your votes. The clerk will close the roll first. The clerk will, if you can clear the roll.
I'm sorry.
All those in favor of reconsideration, record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. You need to vote yes. And the clerk will close the roll.
Patron
Yeas 15, nays 0.
is here, so.
Okay. So where is the patron? I'm sorry, Delegate Quinn.
Delegate O'Quinn.
Delegate Quinn, I like you a lot, but I don't like your bill much, but if you, as long as you understand that I didn't want to do this without you being here, so as long as you understand. And I do believe that, in my opinion, I believe that having advertising, especially if it could be so many political type, that would be problematic. The other item is that this is a step. So anyway, we're not going to hear testimony. If you want to just say a word, you're in favor of the bill. Is that anything else?
Certainly, I'm in favor of the bill, Mr. Chairman, and this is one way to have no strings attached ability for a locality to be able to raise money for their school division that they can opt into. We've had this bill through the House 3 separate times and over to this side. You've heard it before.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a motion on the bill? It's now back before us.
There's a motion to report, and I'd so move.
Mr. President, Mr. Chair.
Senator Peterson.
And I think with due respect to delegate, I'm going to make a motion to PBI. I think we have heard this before, and I think, I don't think there's.
All right, substitute motion that the bill
I'll
be
leave it at that.
PBI'd. All right, and so the motion now is the bill be PBI'd. All those in favor to PBI will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 9, nays 6.
9-6, the bill's PBI'd. Senator McQuinn, we've looked at this a couple of times, and I understand the need to produce some revenue. If you want to work with us, maybe there's a way that we can work with you to make sure we narrow it enough that we don't have any political items or any of those type things on it that we may not understand. So, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, next is House Bill 2325. This is allowing the school board to have a written reprimand instead of the revocation or suspension of an employee. This gives the school boards the ability to do a disciplinary action of a written reprimand, and it was recommended to report 5-0, and I'd so move.
There's a motion second. 2325 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next is House Bill 2599, and this is a bill that requires the Board of Education in its regulations regarding the use of seclusion and restraints in public schools. It prohibits the use of any methods of restraints or seclusion that it determines that poses a significant danger to the student and establishes safety standards in which that seclusion is to be used. And it was recommended to report 5-0.
There's a motion second that the bill be reported. That is 2599. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next is House Bill 2623. The patron has asked that that bill be stricken, and I'd so move.
Motion is second that the bill be stricken. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported, is stricken, sorry. So next, Senator Carrico.
Next is House Bill 2662. Delegate Landis's bill directing the Board of Education in establishing high school graduation requirements to require students, beginning with first-time ninth grade students in 2022 and 2023 school year, to complete a senior capstone project portfolio and performance-based assessment. It was recommended that we report the bill on 5-0 vote, and I'd so move.
Mr. Chairman, there's just a clarifying amendment. I think we talked to the patron's office about if we could just entertain that, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On line 204, in the enactment, after experiment, strike and integrate it into existing graduation requirements.
Okay, is there a motion on the amendment?
So moved.
Motion is second that the amendment be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye. Those no. The amendment's agreed to. And there's a motion on the bill to report and re-refer to finance. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next is employment of school is House Bill 2721. This is dealing with employment of school security officers and dealing with law enforcement officers that were previously employed by the United States or any state political subdivision. This basically allows a security officer to carry a firearm in the performance of their duty as a security officer with 10 years of immediately prior to being hired training. And currently, we don't recognize those federal officers that are trained. I don't want to use FBI because that's not a good example. But let's say U.S. Marshal or DEA or anything else. Respected organization. This would allow those individuals to be able to carry on school property if they have 10 years of training before they're hired.
All right.
And it was recommended to report
All right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. Any
Can I ask a
questions to the
Sure.
patron? Yes.
Does this allow former Director Comey to serve as
I excluded FBI when I said it.
No, he'd shoot himself in the foot.
All right, very good. So Delegate, did you have a substitute that you were interested in, and have you run that by the chair? Yeah.
So the amendment just came down the way we had talked before, that
Well-
there might be a potential amendment coming down from the administration that they asked for. It doesn't extend any of the authority of the administration, Mr. Chairman, but it does add clarifying language with respect to the qualifications that somebody would have to go through in order to be a school security officer.
All right, so if you don't mind, Delegate, I think we're going to let this go by temporarily. I think the committee needs to, I mean, we go pretty quick, but everybody knows what they're doing because they've seen it or heard it. If you don't mind this going by temporarily, everyone will be able to read this, and we'll get to it at the end and try to pick you up. Is that okay, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. All right, Senator Carrico.
Next is the meeting from February 11th. This is House Bill 1752. This was Delegate Krizek, and this is the Election Day holiday, school holiday, prohibits local school boards from requiring students to attend school on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November, and it was recommended to PBI 2-1, and I'd so move.
All right, does anyone have there's a motion second that the bill be PBI'd. I think we killed a bill like this earlier. Is any questions to the delegate? I think we know the issue pretty well. I don't know where Senator Sasslaw is, but, all right, there's a motion and a second that the kind of traditional school holiday bill, I think that's what it is, be PBI'd. All those in favor of PBI'ing the bill, record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 11, nays 4.
11-4. Thank you, Delegate, for coming by today. Next up, we have
House Bill
1868.
1868.
Okay with that?
Delegate Hurst, this is the Virginia Index of Performance Incentive Program. It renames the Virginia Index Performance Incentive Program to Exemplary School Recognition Program, and makes several changes to the program to align it with recent changes made by the Board of Education to standards of accreditation. It was recommended to report 4-0, and I'd so move.
All right, there's a motion and a second. You good if we pass? We're all good. So the motion is second that 1668 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next is House Bill 2297, Delegate Simon. This is, there is a substitute, and I'd so move.
This motion is second that substitute be adopted. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no, and the substitute's agreed to. Senator Carrico.
This is dealing with any student, school age that's deemed to reside in the school division. Supposedly, there are boundaries that are backyards, and the house may be in one school division and the backyard in another school division. This clarifies that wherever they live is where they go to school, and this would require them to attend the school in which they're living in, residing in permanently. So it was recommended to report the substitute 4-0, and I'd so move.
There's a motion and second that the bill, that being 2297, be reported as a substitute. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 14, nays 1.
14-1, the bill is reported. Senator Carrico.
Next was the House Bill 2570. This is Delegate LaRock's bill dealing with family life education programs, prohibits any public elementary or secondary school student from participating in the family life education program without prior written consent with the parents. This is the bill that requires them to sign up for it, not opt out of it, opt in instead of opt out. And it was recommended to PBI on a 3-1 vote. And I was the only one that didn't.
There's a motion on the bill. All right, so the subcommittee report was 3-1. All those in favor of? There's a substitute motion, Senator. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor of reporting the bill? Senator Cosgrove, yes.
Delegate, your bill now would require parents to affirmatively opt in instead of right now they have to opt out.
That's correct.
What happens to a student that really doesn't have an engaged parent, one that may have almost no home life? You know, what happens there in that situation? I mean, basically, do we just kind of leave them in limbo or what?
Delegate?
Mr. Chairman, I think the senator raises a good question.
Yes,
One has to weigh the benefits of parental involvement, which are significant. Numerous studies show that at any income level, any home background, when you involve parents, the outcomes are significantly improved. If there are parents who are not engaged, then I think the effort would be well placed to bring those parents into the process and cause them to be engaged. So we could either agree, some never will. So we are weighing the difference between significantly better outcomes across the general population, or perhaps some kids not being exposed to this at all because their parents didn't opt in.
Mr. Chairman, I'll help him out here just a little bit. The testimony in committee, if they don't opt in, is they don't participate in the program. So if the child doesn't take the form home, or if the parents are not engaged, then they're not exposed to the program. Currently, if it's opt out, the parent has to sign the form that they opt out or they're taking it.
All right, Senator Black.
Yes, just a personal observation. I opted out my son when he was about in the 7th grade, and during the FLE presentation, the teacher announced to the entire class that Ron Black had been opted out. The teacher mocked my son. The entire class mocked my son. And I think this is not unusual. And that's why I strongly support the bill.
Okay. Senator Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We really discussed this at great length in subcommittee. And what we determined was no school division has to provide family life education at all. The whole school division can opt out. We also found that each school division can decide whether to opt in or to opt out. What this bill will be doing is taking that option away from the local school division. We are, and all of the objections to the current system were coming out of Fairfax County. We in Fairfax County have elected school board, 12 members. They're all on the ballot for this November. If there is a real feeling that we need to change things in Fairfax County, the voters will absolutely have that opportunity. But I don't think it's quite right to take a sort of a local situation and make it go statewide. It's just going a bit too far.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Senator, if I just may briefly point
yes.
to number 3 on the page, I think speaks to Senator Cosgrove's question. This is from a school board member from one of the largest districts in Virginia. Sent this email to me. It's in the package, but just the message from her was the current opt-out procedure is not working. I'm a parent of a high schooler. Last year, he, referring to her son, participated in family life education course, and I was never notified. That's from Victoria Manning.
Great, thank you very much.
We'd like to improve on that system. Thank you, Mr. Senator.
Okay, any other member like to speak on the bill? There's just to clarify, there's a motion and a second. You want to speak? Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also in support of this bill, having had 4 teenage kids to go through public schools, never once getting any type of notification or anything that my kids would be going through the program. It was done without my permission, and therefore I think we need this option. Thank you.
Very good. There's-
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, okay. Senator Sudalandis.
if, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask the delegate if he thinks the current opt-out situation isn't workable, and from the proponents I've heard from that, would you like a substitute that requires the opt-out form be posted online and anything else to make it more accessible?
Mr. Chairman, I say the senator, thank you for that option. I think we are so far beyond the point where that would be realistically significantly alter the problem that's before us. So while I appreciate the suggestion,
So-
I don't think that would be an amendment that would.
Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Senator Howell indicated, this was fully vetted in the subcommittee with a recommendation to PBI this legislation. And we do have local school boards who are responsible for creating policy at the local level. And oftentimes we hear in this committee the phrase local control, local control, local control. And if we truly mean we want local control, then we will leave this to local school boards to make those decisions. And often we will hear one or two cases that come before subcommittees and before the full committee, and we run with that to make statewide policy. And this is one of those instances. And I simply do not think that we need to do that. Make it statewide policy out of one or two issues that come from out of a local case. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Locke. Any other member have something about it? The motion that is before us is to PBI the bill. Substitute motion was to report. So there's a motion and a second that we report the bill. All those in favor will record your vote aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 5, nays 10.
Ayes 5, nays 10. The bill does not report. Delegate, if I could just, and this is not the committee, but the stories that we've heard up here in regards to the opt-out not working is fairly serious, and I know you indicated to Senator Sudaline that maybe that's not where you want to go, but if what Senator Black says is not happening, is happening, we just can't have that. And so maybe there needs to be some thoughts about putting some things online and otherwise that cannot be denied. But if you want to continue to think about that, I'd be glad to work with you on it.
I'd be very grateful for the chairman putting some attention together with other stakeholders and improving the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the motion to report did not pass, and so we would just reverse the roles without objection. Okay. So the bill has been PBI. All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we can go back to Delegate Freitas's House Bill 2721, I had a chance to read it after, during the debate. This is the substitute. Basically what the substitute.
Let me just make sure everyone's clear, because this is what the administration came up with. The substitute that you have in front of you related to school security officers. We did not have a chance to look at it. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. It's only a couple of lines in it, but we would like to maybe vote on that if everyone's comfortable. Senator Carrico.
So what the substitute does is it refers to what anyone in Virginia has to be trained to be able to carry within those guidelines through DCJS and Virginia training. And basically what this substitute does is requires that those individuals, if they are in a federal agency, have similar training to what we require Virginia officers to have. And that would probably exclude Mr. Comey. Because he was probably in an administrative capacity for some time.
Okay.
So I would move that we would report the bill.
So if we adopted a substitute. Yeah. So Senator Carrico moves that we adopt the substitute with some information coming from the administration. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor of adopting the substitute will say aye. Those no, and the substitute's adopted. There's a motion and a second that the bill, that being 2721, be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 14, nays 1.
14 to 1, the bill is reported.
That completes my committee.
All right, Senator Carrico, I just want to tell you, we gave you a large load, and we're very, very grateful. Thank you very much for the work and also of all of your subcommittee. Up next, it'll be Senator Saslaw has higher education, where he has 6 bills. Senator Saslaw, are you ready to give your report, sir? Sure. Senator Saslaw.
The first bill was Delegate James, House Bill 2020, and that required the Virginia Community College System in consultation with labor and industry to develop and deliver uniform related instruction for registered apprenticeships in the high demand programs as determined by the Virginia Workforce Development and the Virginia Employment Commission, and for which there's nothing currently available. And it should be statewide or face-to-face online. We recommended that bill be reported 5-0.
And reported to finance.
And I move that.
Yeah.
It had, and re-referred, yeah, it has to go to finance.
There's a motion and a second that House Bill 2020 be reported and re-referred to finance. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
The bill is reported, Senator Saslaw.
Yeah, the second bill was Delegate Landis's. That was the bill that originally capped the compensation. It's 2336, and there's a substitute, and I would move the adoption of the substitute.
Thank you. Motion is second that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those no. Substitute agreed to. Senator Saslaw.
And what the substitute does, it narrows it considerably and doesn't have a cap. Just says that the governing board of each institution of higher ed shall report by the 1st of September to the chairman of the House Committee on Appropriations and Education and the Senate Committees on Finance and Ed and Health, the salary position of any executive officer that exceeded the previous year's salary limit at that school. So the Chev and the various institutions that were there didn't have a problem with the substitute.
So we're going to report and refer to finance?
Mr. Chair?
I don't know if this had to go to finance. They want it? Okay. Well, the motion then would be to report and refer to finance.
Is there a second? There's a second. Senator Peterson.
Yeah, line 15 says Part 4 of the general appropriation. I don't know the code for the Finance Committee. What does that mean?
It's the last section of the code, the budget, that is a bit unusual and where we stick a lot of things that you need to pay attention to.
Mr. Chairman.
When we can't figure out where to put them, they go there at the end in Part 4.
Tom.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Peterson, thank you for pointing that out. There should be an act after appropriation.
Well, can I just, one further comment? I don't, this goes in the state code, which is those black books that get delivered to my law office every year, and I don't know quite how to interpret this if we put this in the code. And 20 years from now, does anyone know what that means? I don't know.
So, Senator, Tom, do we need to just adjust the words a little bit in the substitute without objection? Is that right?
Probably General Appropriation Act.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I believe General Appropriation Act is used in the code.
All right. Without objection, the amendment, the substitute will be amended in such fashion. And so the recommendation from the subcommittee was on a 401 vote to report as amended and refer to finance. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 14, nays 0, abstentions 1.
1401, the bill is reported and re-referred. Senator Saslaw.
Okay. House Bill 2350. Currently, we have a program where kids were in foster care when they turned 18 and got a high school diploma or an equivalency. Right now, they get tuition relief. It's waived at the community colleges. And essentially what this does is it extends it to the four-year colleges. They have to, as I said, have a high school diploma or pass an equivalency examination, and currently in some special needs program or foster program, or we're in a foster program.
Okay.
And I think this has to go also to finance. So I would so move that it be reported and referred to finance.
There's motion is second at 2350, be reported and be referred to finance. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no, and the clerk will close the roll.
The
Yeas
next,
15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported and be referred. Senator Sasslaw.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next bill is 2380. That's Delegate Hurst. That essentially is another attempt at lowering the cost. It just says it requires registrars or any other employee of a public institution of higher ed to list, the courses that have low-cost or no-cost materials, either online or through other publications. There's no, I don't know if there's a...
He does not have to go.
This is not requested, so we can report this directly to the floor, and I so move.
Motion is second that Delegate Hurst bill, that being 2080, be reported, and all those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no, and the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Sasslaw.
The next bill is Delegate Corey, and I think she might want to come up here. This was, it prohibited students at a public institution of higher ed from being deemed ineligible on the basis of what their parents' immigration status was. The Delegate Cosgrove brought up a pretty significant point in that it probably would be a lot better bill, and it might not have had the problems if it stated that this student, which is, I think is what Delegate Corey intended, the student would have to be a U.S. citizen. So in other words, essentially, they would be the offspring of the people who came here and were currently, may have been undocumented, may or may not have been. But anyway, what they're trying to do, what I think the intent of your bill is that if they moved here or were domiciled here, they would be able to get, the status of their parents would not prevent them from getting in-state status. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yes, sir, Senator Sasslaw, and I do have a line item amendment that makes the bill more congruent with Senator Cosgrove's concerns.
Okay, so is there Tom, do you want to say the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sasslaw, on line 50, after student, insert who is a citizen of the United States.
Okay. So that's as far as it goes?
I would move that
citizen of the United States?
Right. In other words, this, they would have to be that, the status of the parents, if they were citizens, and it shouldn't impinge upon them getting in-state tuition, that their parents were, were maybe undocumented.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
There's a motion second that the amendment be agreed to. We're good with that. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those no. Tom, just tell me, what's the net effect of that, sir?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would just point to lines 20 through 24, subsection D of the bill. You don't have to be a United States citizen to get in-state tuition. I would also urge caution about having nationality be a condition on a benefit. You might run into some constitutional issues there.
All right, what was the motion by the subcommittee?
The motion was 3-2 to PBI.
Okay. There's a motion and a second as amended for the bill to be PBI'd. All those in favor of
Mr. Chair?
PBI, Senator?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to report as amended.
Okay, there's a substitute motion at the bill, and that being 2591B, reported as amended. All those in favor of reporting will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 7, nays 8.
8-7, the bill fails to report. Without objection, the bill will be flipped. Is that okay? Everyone okay? All right, Delegate, thanks for coming. And also, thank you for working on the amendment. I think that this morning, Tom was just concerned that we would actually knock some people out that were currently in with that amendment. So maybe you can work with council on that. So
Thank you.
thank you, Delegate. All right, Senator Sasslaw.
All right, the last bill required that, what it does is it requires that VPI, Virginia Tech, and Virginia State University jointly develop and report to the State Council of Higher Ed, Higher Education Virginia, the House Committee on Education, Senate Committee on Ed and Health, no later than the first day of next year's session, a plan to establish a baccalaureate degree or other degree program that prepares graduates for effective career and technical education teachers in order to address the shortages that we have in that field. And we do have shortages in that field. So this is to try to, get more degree people in that field so we can help eliminate some of the teacher shortages in those technical fields or STEM. And I would move that it be reported.
And re-referred to finance.
And re-referred to finance.
There's a motion and a second that bill, which is House Bill 2702, be reported and re-referred to finance. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill's reported and re-referred to finance. Senator Sasslaw, we appreciate what the work you've done. Not only have you had a number of bills, but you've had some of the more controversial bills this year, and also to all of your members and to Senator Howe, which I added on a little late and got in trouble for. I'm glad I did it, but it's good to have you as part of the clan. So next up is Senator Cosgrove. You're up in regards to the Health Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First bill I'd like to do is House Bill 1885, Delegate Bell. This brief bill basically would require the Board of Health to publish a list of persons who are nationally certified to offer screening, testing, and mitigation of radon. That's all the bill does. It was a unanimous recommendation to report, and I so move.
There's a motion and a second that 1885 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1975 from Delegate Razul. Basically, this would just require DMAS to develop a plan for providing information for people involved with the programs for all-inclusive care for the elderly programs. It was a unanimous report, recommendation to report, and I so move.
So motion is second that bill, which is 1975, be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. The clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2015 from Delegate Peace. This basically, DMAS would conduct a pilot program to develop and implement means to mitigate the risk of improper payments to providers of services furnished under the state plan for medical assistance and all applicable waivers. Basically, the bill requires the department to report to the chairman of House Committee on Appropriations and Chairman Senate Finance by August 1st, 2019 on its progress. It was unanimous recommendation to report, and I so move.
This motion is second that bill 2015 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2322 from Delegate Hodges. This would require Department of Health to develop a plan for the oversight and enforcement by the Department of requirements related to inspection and pump out of on-site sewage treatment systems that did not require a Virginia Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit established pursuant to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act and are located in counties eligible for participation in the Rural Coastal Virginia Community Enhancement Authority. The bill requires the department to present such a plan to the chairman of House Committee on Health, Welfare, and Institutions and the Senate Committee on Education and Health. It is a unanimous recommendation to report this bill, and I so move.
So motion, second bill reported. Senator Cosgrove, do you mind if I was reading over this bill this morning with staff. This bill does not implement a policy. It has them come up with a model and come back to us. Is that what I understand?
It develops a plan, yes, sir.
Okay, because these things can be quite controversial and have big impacts. So, John, I appreciate your work on that. There's a motion and a second that the bill, Delegate Hodges' bill, be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2425, Delegate Levine. This bill basically requires providers to to release information, data on healthcare-associated infections to the National Healthcare Safety Network by healthcare facilities located in the Commonwealth. Basically, it's a way to keep track of the different infections that can go from facility to facility. It was the unanimous recommendation to report, and I so move.
So motion is second that that bill, which is 2425, be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next bill was House Bill 2474 from Delegate Torian. The legislation requires the Department of Medical Assistance Services to issue an annual report regarding the number of screenings for eligibility of community-based and institutional long-term care services are conducted, and the number of those screenings which are not completed within 30 days, which is what they're required to do. The introduced House Bill 2474 directed DMAS to develop and implement an expedited review process for applications for the community institutional long care services for individuals diagnosed with a terminal condition. Delegate Torian brought some very compelling and emotional examples of why this is needed. And it was a unanimous recommendation to report, and I would so move.
Motion is second, 2474 be reported. John, thank you for your work on getting this right. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2546, which is Delegate Robinson. This sets up a maternal death review team. It looks at all cases of maternal death, both pre and post-delivery. And it requires the data to be available to the governor and the General Assembly upon its completion. The bill provides the information and records obtained or created by the team and portions of the meetings of the team at which the individual maternal deaths are discussed shall be confidential. Mr. Chairman, it was the unanimous report 5-0 to report this bill, and I so move.
There's a motion is second that the bill, that being 2546, be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Cosgrove, one more?
Two more, actually, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
That's right.
I have House Bill 2613, which is Delegate Delaney. This bill would add, perinatal anxiety to the issues that midwives, licensed nurse midwives, licensed hospitals would provide to women who are going through maternity. Postpartum blues is already part of that. Postpartum depression is already part of that. Shaken baby syndrome and other dangers are given out there, but there is a perinatal anxiety issue that really hasn't been discussed and included, and this bill would include that in the information delivered. It was the unanimous recommendation to report 4-0, and I'd so move.
There's a motion second that we report the bill. This just adds one to the list, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill's reported. You have one more bill, Senator Cosgrove.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the reason I left this one for last is Delegate Hope. This is House Bill 1812. We heard testimony on the bill. Delegate Hope was otherwise occupied. It was a pretty busy afternoon for all of us that day. Basically, what this bill would do is it would allow dependents of a foreign service officer who is deployed. If that individual is on the waiting list for a waiver, it would maintain their eligibility in the waiver system for services, as long as that foreign service agent retained domicile in the Commonwealth. We really took no recommendation because the patron wasn't there. The testimony was fairly clear. We made sure that there was not that nobody would be bumped out of line or whatever, since there really isn't a line. So we were fairly comfortable with it, but we decided we needed to bring it here. It would be my recommendation to report the bill, and I'd so move.
All right, so everyone understand there's a motion and a second that we report the bill, that being 1812. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
He says, we've got our full.
Yeas, 9, nays, 6.
9 to 6, the bill is reported. We're all good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Senator Cosgrove, once again, you did a fantastic job. Once again, a number of bills going through there, and this one particular time, 10 more. So, sir, thank you for all your help. Up next, Senator Sudeline, you're going to give the health professions report, sir.
Yes, sir. House Bill 1826 from Delegate Orrock. First, there was a technical amendment that council caught that we did not act on. I'd ask him to report the technical amendment.
The clerk will report an amendment.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Sudeline, on line 29 after nothing, just insert in this subsection, so it would read nothing in this subsection shall prevent.
All right, there's a motion second on the amendment. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and the amendment's agreed to. Senator Sudeline.
So that technical amendment doesn't really change what we considered, and the bill before us would prohibit healthcare professionals from making advertisements referencing marijuana. The delegate had an issue in his district that he believes is happening in other districts as well, in which these signs are going up in medians that say marijuana doctor and then a phone number to call. And because of the current law on that, he believes that they're advertising something not legal, and he believes that it should be prohibited. And on a 501 vote, the subcommittee recommended report.
And there's a motion. There's a motion and a second that House Bill 1826 be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas, 14, nays, 1.
14 to 1, the bill is reported. Senator Sudeline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1841 from Delegate Marshall came to us. This is about the pharmaceutical processors and who they can employ. And there's current crimes that prevent someone from being employed there related to, drug crimes in the past. His bill seeks to make it so that that prohibition would only exist on those crimes if those convictions occurred in the previous 5 years. And the bill also has other safeguards about pre-employment drug screening and regular ongoing random drug screening of employees. And with that, the subcommittee unanimously recommended it. And I would so move.
All right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported, that being 1841. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas, 15, nays, 0.
15 to 0, the bill is reported. Senator Sudeline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1848 came from Delegate Don Adams, and it allows the Department of Health Professions and other regulatory boards to disclose otherwise confidential information related to disciplinary hearings to the Virginia Department of Education and SHEV if it relates to nursing. And it's basically, if they think that they found violations that the other boards need to know, we ought to tell them. And it was a unanimous 5-0 recommendation. And it's not just the nursing board, but that's the one I mentioned.
So it's all the health professions boards?
I think Senator Donovan would like to.
Senator Donovan.
Mr. Chairman, this is so that the boards and Department of Education in particular can have a conversation when there's an issue with a nursing school program, for instance. These two different agencies were working in silos, and failure to share that information resulted in failure of the process. So it's basically sharing information between different investigatory bodies in different agencies of the state.
Okay. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas, 14, nays, 1.
14 to 1, the bill is reported. Senator Sudeline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1419 came from Delegate Herring. This authorized the Department of Health and Practitioners employed or contracted by local health departments to prescribe antibiotic therapy to the sexual partner of a patient diagnosed with a sexually transmitted disease without the physical examination normally required. Their safeguards provided. This is a bill that we heard last year as well. We didn't think it was ready at the time, but in the off-season, work was put into it, and the subcommittee felt comfortable with it, and on a unanimous 6-0 report, we recommend that, and it's so moved.
Okay. There's a motion and a second that 1914 be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 14, nays 0.
Just tell her. All right, 15-0 with Saslaw. The bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2129 from Delegate Guzman. This is a bill that makes the Board of Nursing help expedite application processes for applicants who are certified or licensed in other states that are coming here as the trailing spouse of one of our military personnel. This is basically the nursing equivalent of my bill last year for school teachers, and we unanimously recommended report on a 6-0 vote, and it's so moved.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2169 from Delegate Thomas is similar, also authorizes the Board of Medicine issue a license by endorsement to an applicant for licensure as a physician assistant PA who is the spouse of an active duty member of the armed forces, holds current certification from their National Commission on certification, and holds a license as a PA that's in good standing by another state or the District of Columbia or U.S. possession or territory. And there was an amendment. I asked council to report
the
that.
amendment.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Suderline, on line 26, after state, strike the District of Columbia through territory. On line 27, state is defined code-wide to include those things.
Okay.
So
There's a motion and a second that the line amendment be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the amendment's agreed to. Senator Suderline.
And on a 6-0 vote, we recommended to report the amended bill, and it's so moved.
There's a motion and a second. We report Senate Bill, House Bill 2169. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
House Bill 2184 from Delegate Kilgore. There's a substitute.
Okay. Is there a motion on the substitute? There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And substitutes agreed to. Senator Suderline, you let us know more about the substitute, sir?
Yes, happily, Mr. Chairman. So this bill came from Delegate Kilgore, represents a district on the Tennessee-Virginia line. The RAM Clinic does a lot of great work near his district, helping people get medical and dental care there. His bill came allowing dentists to practice in Virginia in the same way from out of state that we allow doctors to. It was completely analogous to it. His earlier version of the bill, the plain text reading would require that everyone with the organization be a volunteer, when in fact, you know, they need some full-time personnel to organize things, and the medical care is provided by volunteers, including by our co-chair, Senator Donovan. And he, of course, just wanted to correct that, and that's all the substitute did, to make sure that we can get these dentists to provide this care. And once we had the substitute before us, the RAM Clinic came, firmly endorsed the bill, and everyone else thought it was a good idea. And we recommend reporting the substitute on a 6-0 vote, and I would so move.
So motion is second at 2184 be reported, and thank you for all the work you and Senator Donovan did on that bill. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2247 has an amendment. I would ask the council to report the amendment.
Tom, report the amendment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Suderline, on line 17, after patient, strike the remainder of that line and through week on line 18. So it read, Romanet 3 are actively engaged in the delivery of clinical care to patients.
Okay, there's a motion, a second, that the amendment be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and the amendment's agreed with. David, does this limit it to, is there 20 hours on this still, or how does this
No,
work?
Mr. Chairman, the amendment strikes the 20-hour week provision. What it says is that the 5 licensed optometrist members of the Board of Optometry, that they be actively engaged in the delivery of clinical care.
Okay, so no 20
Period.
hours required
So,
anymore.
Yeah, Dr. Donovan, well, Senator Donovan, but Dr. Donovan was very helpful in pointing out how are we actually going to go and monitor the 20-hour week average? It's just not practical. And the language that we have here, by being involved in the clinical care, you actually have to be engaged in the process. So we thought this got to what the patron was trying to do, ensuring that our members on the board were familiar with what's happening and also not creating new problems. So on a 4-to-1 vote, we recommended reporting the amended version of the bill.
All right, everyone understand the change. I know this is this change that some of us have been watching, but sounds like, David, you made it much better. So there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2282 from Delegate Filler Corn directs the Board of Counseling to promulgate emergency regulations for the issuance of temporary licenses to individuals engaged in a counseling residency so that they may acquire the supervised postgraduate experience required for licensure. The current policy that this is seeking to correct has made it very difficult for folks to accumulate those hours because they often have to do it at a volunteer capacity, and it's thousands of hours. And so we heard directly from folks that were able to get it, but very difficult, and they thought that this would make it far better so that we have these folks being able to serve Virginians. And so on a 6-0 vote, we recommended report, and it's so moved.
It's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2457 from Delegate Landis. We have amendments. I'd ask council to report those.
Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Suderline, on line 16, after issued, strike may, insert shall, and on line 17, strike after chiropractor the word only. So instead of reading may only, it reads shall only.
Okay, and there's a motion on the amendments. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And the amendments are agreed to. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So House Bill 2457, as the amendment you saw, was pretty technical because it's just requiring how it would happen. It says the Board of Medicine shall be able to issue retiree license to any doctor, an MD, osteopath, podiatrist, or chiropractor who holds a valid unrestricted license to practice in the Commonwealth upon receipt of a request and submission of the required fee. The bill provides that the retiree licensee has the license they've been issued. They shall not be required to meet the continuing competency requirements for the first biennial renewal of such license, and also puts limitations on how much they can practice. But these are still folks that have gone through all the rigors, and we felt comfortable with recommending report on a 6-0 vote, and so moved.
Motion is second that bill be reported 2457. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2493 came from Delegate Tran. It authorizes dental hygienists practicing under the remote supervision of physicians to administer topical oral aesthetics, topical and directly applied antimicrobial, I can never pronounce it, Senator Donovan assures us it's correct, agents of treatment, and this was something on and Schedule 5 topical drugs. approved by the Board of Dentistry. Everyone was comfortable with where this was going, and we recommended report on a 6-0 vote.
There's a motion and a second that House Bill 2493 be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2556 from Delegate Plum. This is similar to the other bill that dealing with the nurses and sharing the information there. This provides that provisions protecting the confidentiality of information obtained during an investigation or disciplinary hearing do not prohibit the disclosure of information about a suspected violation of state or federal law or regulation to state law enforcement. These are, again, different investigatory groups being able to share information about potential crime suspected by one, and we unanimously recommended report 6-0.
This motion is second that be done. Is it a crime or is it also a violation of regulation?
It could be violations, but the crimes are most important. But yes, violations, if they think that if they have evidence to suggest that they are violating something that the other group is supposed to investigate, they can share that information.
Okay, I understand. All right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2559 came from Delegate Pillion. This provides certain exceptions that will be coming to the requirement that prescriptions for controlled substances containing opioids be issued as an electronic prescription. This was something that we did not hear anyone had any concerns from, and the subcommittee was comfortable recommending report on a 6-0 vote, so I so move.
Second. All right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. David, am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2561 has amendments. I would ask council to report those.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Suderline, on line 129, and then the same change on line 135. After intermediary, strike may, insert shall. So it, instead of reading may not, it reads shall not.
All right, there's a motion and a second that the amendment be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the amendment's agreed to. Senator Suderline.
Mr. Chairman, this bill is fascinating in that the summary is as long as the bill itself because of you get to learn the Romanettes all the way up to 19, or strike that, all the way up to 20. It's got 20 different provisions dealing with the subject that we heard and we were comfortable with. And unless you'd like me to chronicle all 20, I think we're comfortable in recommending report on a 6-0 vote.
I think we've gone with council over. I think it's all good. If there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported, all those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill's reported. Do you have one more, Senator Suderline? Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think I've got more than one more. House Bill 2652 came from Delegate Hope. It directs the Board of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services to amend the regulations requiring, and so that they would require every licensed provider to provide a statement regarding the character, ability, and fitness for employment of current or past employees. There was a little concern, is this going to make it more challenging for these departments? They came forward and said they felt very comfortable with it, and because it's so important that they have the information about these employees that are dealing with folks that are very vulnerable when they're working with them, that we share this information. And so it was recommended for report on a 6-0 vote.
All right.
And so moved.
Motion is second that that bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill's reported. Now you have one bill, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Seems like that. House Bill 2731 from Delegate Edmonds requires labs that report the results of a test for Lyme disease ordered by a physician in an office setting to include with those results a notice stating that the results of Lyme disease test may vary and may produce results that are inaccurate, and a patient may not be able to rely on a positive or negative test result for such a test. This is something that, we heard from Senator Black's constituents at length. Unfortunately, as you see, a delegate at the other end of the state is now, having folks with the same concern. And all this bill is saying is, yes, this lab's the best we have, but know that we're not with the science where we can give you 100% accuracy. We need to be thorough. The science is good, but it's not perfect. And so we recommended report unanimously.
I second that.
Motion is second. Senator Black.
I'll just make a comment on this. With Lyme disease, it's a very difficult situation where the test that we have generates a great number of false negatives. And if people think that they're safe, they go off and the disease progresses to the point where it can damage vital organs and cause death. And so this is a very good measure, and I certainly support it.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Howell.
Senator Black and I have been working on this issue together for almost a decade because it's been in our region something of a plague. And I'm sorry that it's spread to other parts of the state and it's becoming a plague there. But I think this measure will really help people all over.
Great. Thank you very much. And these tests, most people I don't think they understand that they're the best we have, but they're not that perfect, right? So, okay, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll. Votes asked along.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator Sudolaz, does that complete your report, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Well, to you and Senator Donovan and that entire team, you had by far the most bills and some of the more complex bills. Thank you both for your work, and that made our committee's work much easier. All right, next up, the committee will turn itself back to the public education bill that's similar to Senator Stanley's bill. Mr. Dix, we're going to have you come back up. This is 2192, and 2192, and there was a substitute, and we had adopted the substitute, Madam Clerk, is that correct?
Yes.
We had, okay. So, Mr. Dix, maybe just a few questions about this. And I think that there might be some members, including Senator Cosgrove and others, just want to make sure that we're okay. But in general, you cannot produce a solar facility larger than what is on the grounds of the actual school. Is that correct?
That is correct. The grounds and the roof.
Grounds and roof.
Right.
And you may also, in regards to selling it, the power company is not required to pay an exorbitant fee for that amount, but instead pays what they would pay for other power. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Well, those are some of my questions. I know Senator Cosgrove have other questions, but this is, Senator Cosgrove, you have another question, sir?
Well, just briefly, this puts a whole another, slant to this bill, and normally we'd hear this type of issue in commerce and labor. But that being said, I have faith in our committee chairman that if he's comfortable with the bill, then I don't want to hold it up. I will probably abstain from the bill until I'm able to really look at it in its entirety and talk to a couple other people, but I won't stand in the way of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions about the bill? Senator Black.
Mr. Chairman, Now, there is nothing that would prevent a school from acquiring a substantial block of land adjacent to, or an integral part of the school property for the purpose of establishing a large solar farm.
Sharon, I'd say to Senator Black, I think the language does not do that for two reasons. So when you look at the lines 224 through 230, what it does is talks about new public school buildings. So you're talking about the building itself, and the idea is that you would have energy positive generation so that you would reduce the entire load of energy for that particular school, and whatever excess is available would be subject to the utility provisions in the back and subject to PURPA, as I've discussed with Ms. Bond from Dominion, which is a federal law that says that the utility would buy the excess energy at market rates, and it's not solar market rates, it is the market rate. And so there would not be an ability of a school division, for example, to go in and buy 300 acres and put a school on 25 acres and claim the other as solar, because all of this bill is focused on the fact that the building itself and those facilities have to be energy positive. So that's the focus, and it's not contained in the confines of the utility language. It's contained in the confines of the educational guideline language of how the building should be built.
All right. Mr. Dix, honestly, Senator Black brings up another point. Maybe we can work with you if this bill gets out, but I don't think it's the indication that we are going to allow even a new school to buy an extra 100 acres and to put a solar farm on that, and at some point the ratepayers end up with that. So if you don't mind, let's work on that language as we move forward.
Yes,
if
sir.
the bill continues. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion on the bill? There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported as amended. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 13, nays 1, abstentions 1.
13-13-1, and the bill is reported. We'll continue to work on that aspect
Yes,
of it,
sir.
sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, committee.
Okay, so with that, let me just ask council, in regards to all the bills that are in the subcommittee, that completes them all, or do we have one more, Tom?
That completes them, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and that also completes now our identical and our similar bills. So that gets us down to the final 6 bills, which includes Delegate Thomas's bill, Delegate O'Quinn's bill, and Delegate Byron's bill. Delegate Byron, yours, I think, is the easiest of them. If you don't mind coming up, we'll take on now House Bill 2766. 2766.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a small amendment to that.
Tommy, you report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On line 46, after facility, insert subject to the requirements of this article other than a nursing home.
All right, is there a motion on the amendments? So motion is second that the amendments be agreed to. All those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and the amendments are agreed to. Delegate Byron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill continues some of the discussions we've had the last several years dealing with the definition of charity care and those that report it. We just had our first report come out in October, which was rather interesting data for us to be able to start assessing how the charity care affects our certificate of public needs. What this bill does specifically, in that report coming out, I was not aware that there are a lot of certificate of public needs that aren't conditioned on charity care because maybe at the time, many of these are old, maybe at the time they had an average rate that was determined at that time to be the average rate of charity care for the area, and it was not included as part of a condition. So they were not included in the report. So this defines that everyone that has a certificate needs to report charity care so we can get complete data. And then the other thing, in talking with the director, The charity care review process, there really isn't a process. So if you have a certificate of public need, unless you come back to them with a new addition or some change to it, many of these are not reevaluated at all. So this puts a standard practice of a review every 3 years. The commissioner in the House side was fine with that. There was no objection to the bill.
Okay. Senator Barker, you've worked on these items. You've taken a look at this bill. All right. Is there a motion? Let me make sure. I'm sorry. Is there those that are here to speak in favor or in opposition to the bill? Yes. Welcome.
Good morning. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Brent Rawlings, Virginia Hospital Healthcare Association. We support the legislation.
Perfect. Thanks for coming by today. Okay. Anyone else here to speak in favor or opposition? If not, Senator Black moves that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk, David or Chase, will close the roll.
Thank you very much.
15, nays 0.
Thank you for coming by. The bill's reported. So up next, we will have Delegate O'Quinn. I know you've waited a long time in regards to 2223. You want to come forward, sir, and present your bill?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So House Bill 2223 really is not nearly as complicated as some have made it out to be. This is essentially a choice for your constituents to choose where they would like to have their prescriptions filled, whether that is through mail order or whether it is a brick and mortar pharmacy, much like the ones that are in lots of your districts, which with brick and mortar pharmacy, of course, allows for face-to-face consultation if the patient so chooses. I know that particularly in our part of the state, and I know that we're not the only area that has this problem, but essentially you're having a lot of small towns that are going to be devoid of a pharmacy probably sooner rather than later. And so this bill simply allows consumer choice. It doesn't penalize the patient for choosing pharmacy over mail order. It exempts self-insured plans, and it does not affect current contracts as are currently written. So I know that there are folks who would like to testify for it and against it, so I'll move out of the way.
So, Delegate, what we'll do is we'll hear those that are in favor and opposition, then we'll let you get up and kind of clean up. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Are those here that are in favor of the bill? Come forward. We're going to put a clock on you for 5 minutes, but love to hear from you and kind of get your perspective on this bill. But please come forward and, if you don't mind, stating your name and then your support for the bill. Welcome. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Scott Newman. I am a pharmacist that owns a community drugstore in Chesapeake, Virginia. I'm here on behalf on my community and as well as two organizations, the Virginia Pharmacists Association and an organization known as PUT, the Pharmacists United for Truth and Transparency. We're here in support of this bill because we believe that our patients' lives depend on the choice to be able to use a community pharmacy instead of being directed or incentivized to use mail order. So that's why we're here today. And there's a component of this that it just basically breaks down to their right to choose. And so we do support this bill.
Well, thank you for coming a long ways. We appreciate you coming today, sir. Yes, welcome. We've got about 4 minutes, so for those in the back, you may want to just keep it short. Yep.
Yes, my name is Otto Waxman. I own Stony Creek Pharmacy in Stony Creek, Virginia. We like to say it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. We're located an hour south of this building. The next nearest pharmacy to mine is 20 miles away. I've owned the pharmacy for 17 years. My family's owned it for over 50. Things were going very well in our pharmacy until about 6 or 7 years ago when a lot of the insurance companies required my patients to get their prescriptions through the mail of the pharmacies. It has devastated my business. A lot of small pharmacies in my area like mine have closed. I can name you about 12. If this is allowed to continue, there will be no more Stony Creek Pharmacy. The citizens in my area will have to travel 40 miles round trip to get a prescription filled when they need it. Great. A pharmacy cannot survive without being able to fill these maintenance medications. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming so far. Thank you, sir. Yes, welcome. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Vince Ater. This is my daughter. I brought the heavy hitters.
We own Timberlake, which is in your area, and we owned the Rustburg Pharmacy. We had to close that because we were essentially run out of business by PBMs. The status quo is not working. There's too many upstream entities that are interfering with patient care in everybody's area. I don't feel this is a partisan issue. This is how do we fix a broken system, and this is one small step to give us parity. So I hope that you can support the bill.
Thanks for coming by today. Nice to see you. Yes, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Mary Curtis. I work for Bremo Pharmacy here in Richmond, Virginia. It's a small independent pharmacy located. One of our locations is inside of Henrico Doctors, the Forest campus. Some of my patients are transplant patients. Those patients are required to do mail order for their medications, and sometimes those medications do not make it to them on time. If it does not make it to them on time, they are forced to make a decision as to whether they're going to pay out of pocket for a very expensive medication that is hard for them to afford, that they have to have, is a life-saving medication for them. If they don't pay out of pocket for it, then that may land them in the hospital, and either them resulting in more expensive healthcare costs or losing the kidney that they worked so hard, so hard to be on a list to gain, that someone gave to them in grace and in grace. Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming by. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Steve Hilton. I'm from Clark's Pharmacy in Saltville, Virginia. Serve Smith in Washington County. My pharmacy's been there for 55 years. This bill we support totally. It's about patient choice. There's no financial detriment to this bill that we see. And for everyone, we'd like to know what it is, but patients can get their medications wherever they choose to. If they want to do mail order 1 month, they can, but if they needed to talk to someone face-to-face, they can do that without any monetary penalty. Okay. And I would encourage you all to please consider this and pass this bill. Thank you.
Great, thanks for coming by today. Yes. Someone else? Yes.
Yes. My name is Chris Ratliff. I'm also from the western end of the state, Marion, Virginia. I am also in support of House Bill HB 2223. Again, I'd like to reiterate that it is a patient choice option there.
Great,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you for coming by. Anybody else want to speak? We have about 30 seconds or so.
Hi, my name is Joseph Jadal. I work at Beeford Pharmacy. Our primary community is 60 years and older. We have a lot of our patients that are elderly. They're forced to go mail order, so it prevents them access to the healthcare locally. And a lot of them can't even have access to speak to the mail order pharmacist to ask very simple questions. So this bill will help support, give them access, and come locally.
Well, thank you guys for coming by. Very well done. Yeah, you just want to state your name and that you support? Yes, sir.
I'm Eddie Hale. I live in Pulaski, Virginia, have Martin's Pharmacy, and I hope you'll support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you for coming by today. Very nice. And everybody that is here in favor of the bill, if you'd stand or raise your hand or something, make sure that we know everyone that's in favor. Guys, thank you for coming by today. Very well. So are there those that have some concerns about the bill? We're going to put you on the same clock, those that have some concerns. Please welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Doug Gray with Virginia Association of Health Plans. Consumers already enjoy the right to choose retail. There's a state statute that requires that. It is against the law to require a patient to choose mail order in the fully insured business. It cannot happen. If a patient is required to use mail order, it's in the self-insured world. We use the volume of putting both self-insured and fully insured together who choose to use mail order to make a bulk purchase, get a good discount, fill the prescription, and send them directly to the patient. The patients have chosen mail order. If there's an incentive in the self-insured world to offer a lower price for going to mail order, that is appropriate and permitted, but cannot be regulated by state law. The problem with this bill is that what it does is atomize our volume and undermines the group purchase that we make, and then the discount and the availability of the product through mail order to your constituents, including the state health plan. I have several others who'd like to speak to the bill as well.
All right, thank you. Welcome. Yes, sir, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Woods with the Pharmaceutical Care Management Association, the Trade Association for Pharmacy Benefit Managers. I would echo what the health plans just said, that under current Virginia law, patients have a freedom of choice. Patients cannot be penalized for choosing a retail pharmacy over a mail order pharmacy. What this bill does, in fact, would say that at a time of rising drug prices, a patient opting to choose a lower cost option would not have that option because there would be no incentive that would be permitted. The second thing is that under current Virginia law, any pharmacy in the Commonwealth that wants to join any health plan or PBM network is permitted to do so, given that they sign the same terms and conditions. What this bill would do would say is that PBMs and health plans would have to change all of their contracts to have one reimbursement methodology, and federal courts have said repeatedly and struck down similar types of laws. Thank you.
Great, thanks for coming today. We've got about 3 minutes left. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I'm Robert Barada here today on behalf of America's Health Insurance Plans. I just want to point out to you there are several inconsistencies with this bill and current statute. Current statute allows for the health plan to select a single mail order entity to serve those plans. This particular bill that's before you here allows an entity to go ahead and do the single mail order, but then allows others to cherry pick once that contract is let. That's kind of anti-competitive. We had a similar bill back in 2006 that tried to do some of these same things, and the Federal Trade Commission weighed in on that bill and warned us, that said that this was very anti-competitive and would result in higher consumer prices. I'd also tell you that this bill also allows us to do one of two things: either pay everybody to include all retail pharmacies at the mail order rate, which is a very lower rate because we've negotiated for bulk for drugs, or we would have to reimburse mail order at the higher retail rate, which doesn't make much sense either. So for those reasons, I think this bill needs more scrutiny, more study, or it needs not to go forward. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming by. Yes, about a minute and a half. Thanks for coming. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Karen Addison with Troutman Sanders Strategies, representing Magellan Complete Care, and we're also opposed to the bill.
Okay, thanks for coming by. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, good morning. Matt Cobb, representing CVS Health. We are also opposed to the bill because the end result will be increased cost to consumers. I'd like to highlight the fifth on the bill where DHRM notes it would result in increased co-payments because you would no longer be able to have the discounts of one co-payment for a 90-day supply. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, Doris Kraus-Mays, Virginia AFL-CIO. We're opposed to the bill because it has the potential to limit the ability of our health plans to manage cost. Thank you.
Yes. Welcome. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Jeff Palmore on behalf of Kaiser Permanente. We're an integrated health system operating primarily in Northern Virginia, and we own and operate our own mail order pharmacy. This would require us to use other mail order pharmacies and damage our ability to deliver value to our members.
Great. Thanks for coming by. Anyone else here to speak in opposition to the bill? If not, Delegate O'Quinn, I know you put a lot of work into this. Maybe there'll be some questions along the way, but you want to just wrap up and then we'll ask our questions. Sir.
Sure. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So, as I said, when I had this bill in the House Commerce and Labor Committee, you know, when it's all said and done, less control for PBMs means more choice for your constituents, for consumers in Virginia, because, you know, I mean, frankly, if I had the deal that they had, I would be in here kicking and screaming too. They're in the perfect sweet spot, and the people that are paying for it are consumers, and particularly rural consumers who are getting squeezed into the mail order space, whether they want to be there or not.
So, O'Quinn, thank you very much. Are there other questions from the patron? I have a few, but are there other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Peterson.
I want to thank the delegate for this bill. I think it's a good, we need to have this conversation. I guess the question I have is I've heard a distinction made by Mr. Gray between self-insurance and what that requires versus, I guess, everybody else, which would be, you know, under plans. Can you talk about that distinction? Is there already state law regulating non-self-insured plans?
So in this particular bill, and I'm assuming we're looking at the exact same version of it under subsection C, this particular bill, to address the concerns of the AFL-CIO and some others, exempts self-insured plans, Medicaid, Medicare Part D, and anything that falls under that particular subsection.
Senator Peterson.
So just looking at subpart C, it looks like any ERISA plans, Medicaid or Medicare Part D.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay. Senator Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of questions. One is there's reference on line 35 and 36 to the price being comparable to. Who determines whether or not a price is or is not comparable?
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at a version that does not have the numbered lines. Can you tell me which subsection you're under?
This is B1.
Okay.
Be line 3 and B1.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're at. So that's an agreement between the, thank you, that's an agreement between the, essentially a contractual agreement between the retail pharmacy and the network to accept a price that is comparable. I mean, essentially, you'd have to negotiate whatever that comparable price is.
All right.
I don't know. Senator Barker, maybe we need a little better, our clerk help us, or Tom, can you help us with that? I mean, is there a definition of comparable somewhere else in the code or in this section?
I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Senator Barker, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Mr. Chair, that does cause me clearly some concern with this proposal here, that we can't clarify that. And so it seems to me that if we're going to go forward with the bill, that we need to have something that everybody would know what the right line is and whether something would or would not be comparable. The other question that I have is referencing the comments that were made about involvement of federal courts in finding some similar legislation elsewhere not proper. And can you address that issue and describe what or would not be proper under those circumstances?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So I would say that what was referenced was 13 years ago. I have not personally heard any such concerns from any governmental entity, federal or state, related to this particular bill.
Okay, Senator Barker.
If I might, just at least one more here.
Sure.
Hopefully this one more. How would a contract that a health plan has with a mail order pharmacy be determined whether or not it complies with this legislation here, given what would be also done for the brick and mortar pharmacy, without revealing the details of the contract that the health plan has with the mail order pharmacy, which would seem to violate, their opportunity to be able to negotiate just among those two parties?
Down in the weeds on that may be a better question for someone besides me, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
that's fine. All right, Delegate, you mind if I ask you just a couple questions? I think that there are a number of us up here that have held this bill to the end because we're truth seekers. We want to get to the end. Help me understand, or maybe someone else, if you can, it's okay. But if you negotiate a quantity contract and that has reduced the price in half, and you reduce the universe of what the quantity is, and the price goes up, would that not mean necessarily that you're likely to have a price increase because you aren't negotiating quantity? Or is there something in your bill that I'm not seeing that says that you can't do that? In other words, what happens if the quantity goes down and therefore the impact of that contract goes away?
Well, okay, so Mr. Chairman, I'm going to, there's somebody back here who knows.
It's all right, you can call a friend, it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, Howard would be a good one on that. But I think, okay, come on up.
No, it's not.
Yes, sir. Help me with the quantity and how we're going to avoid price increases if the negotiation is not for quantity. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Sure. Howard Estes with Spotsylvania representing BPHA. I think that there's a longer picture here to look at. First, you start off with the quantity discounts that are already in place, that are negotiated. But then there's another round that comes back around. These are annual contracts. These can be reevaluated and renegotiated. So we're actually increasing competition within that marketplace for prescription medications. The volume can be both at the retail pharmacy as well as at the mail order. So that volume quantity discount can be spread across the board. But what this does is it will increase competition, because if retail is able to meet the mail order pricing, which is supposed to be so low, then in turn, mail order will have to renegotiate and find ways to reduce its cost as well.
I think I understand what you're saying. I just still have the same concern. My thing is that I want to make sure consumers have choice, but I also want to make sure the price is not go back up. Okay. I guess if there's other questions, I wonder if Doug Gray or others. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Vincent Terre. So to address your question, I would be happy to take the mail order reimbursement. So if it's a lower reimbursement rate, then and I can choose to take that or not, right? So that would be the defense against a lower price that would not be obtainable by the consumer.
I think my question is a different question. That is that if you have a quantity discount and you know you're going to get a quantity per block and you're negotiating half price for that, if next time you go in because of certain people have gone outside that block and that block is not nearly as large, how do you negotiate that price? And wouldn't you necessarily, the one that you might want to go and reference that would end up going up because the ability to get the group rate would go down, right?
My counter to that would be the status quo has been for my entire career, PBM running the market, and costs have gone up year after year after year. So it seems like the current system with lack of competition in that environment has resulted in this one-sided situation we're in. Yes,
So
sir.
not to prolong this, but thank you for that, because that we agree. I think that is where Senator Donovan and I have had a lot of conversations, and I know there's some good PBM people here, but we have struggled immensely with some of the PBMs, their pricing policies and that type of thing. Senator Donovan, why don't you talk about that? Because I know you've had legislation this year, and there's something we need to do. I don't know if it's this bill, but something in regards to PBM. Senator Donovan.
I agree, Mr. Chairman, and we do need to have competition in the marketplace. I think this is a great example of what we often see at the legislature, and that is that there's a problem we all agree on, and I'm not sure we have the right solution yet. And so I am concerned that this will, at least in the short term and maybe in the long term, actually increase costs for patients. But at the same time, I am concerned by the chokehold that PBMs have on the marketplace, with 3 being the dominant ones in the country. I am very concerned that as we interfere piecemeal in contracts and what can be negotiated and what can't, that we don't actually necessarily specifically solve the problem. I'm committed to solving the problem, but I think it's a little more complex than this piece of legislation. I don't know if we need to take a look at it, Mr. Chairman, through Joint Commission on Healthcare or something along those lines. There's a problem in the PBMs. The prices are going up. They are not doing what we want them to, which is negotiate for the best cost. There are other motivations in there. I'm not sure we can put our finger on them yet.
So, Senator Donovan, just so you understand, I mean, I think you've gone so far as to consider a measure to have the state set up their own PBM and
That's
us
correct.
control it. And I know there's a lot of people out here that don't like that, but honestly, if this continues, I think that's a way that we've got to look at this and say, listen, if there is a way that we can do it, and then others can join into that PBM price, that would be a state PBM price, it could be a way through, because what we've seen is the profits for some PBMs would be fairly high. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And that way the state can use that bulk purchasing to reduce the cost for patients without an inherent incentive to increase returns for that entity.
Okay, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope we'll support this bill. You know, look, I always go to my local pharmacist in Chesapeake. The idea of having mail order is just fine if you want to do that. But I think there's a lot of issues with mail order delivery. Number one, I can take the script from my doctor directly to, let's say, Newman's Pharmacy in Chesapeake. There you go. There's a plug. Okay. And I can have it filled that same day and walk out with my medication. That's not the same as will happen with mail order. Excuse me, with mail order. The other thing is, if there are scheduled drugs, narcotics or whatever, I'm not sure that's a really great idea to have somebody picking it out of their mailbox. And finally, Mr. Chairman, I just think this, every time we hear a new or novel idea, the sky is falling, costs are going to go up. Well, you know what? Costs go up every single day And all the things that we say or try to do here has not kept these costs from going up. Some will say, oh, well, they didn't go up as much because of what you did. But, we don't see that. So, if the pharmacists are willing to take the mail order reimbursement for that medication, then I think it really ought to be up to the patient and that consumer to choose whether they want to go to their local pharmacist where they can ask questions and interact face-to-face, or rely on a mail order. So this is just a consumer thing for me, Mr. Chairman. I hope we'll support the bill.
Okay. Are there others that would like to speak either for or against the bill? So before we end up voting, I do think that if this bill ends up not passing, Delegate, I think I would end up taking this issue in case it doesn't, and Senator Donovan's issue, which is a PBM larger issue. They've done a bit of damage to a number of areas, and with all due respect and appreciate some of the PBMs, but there's been some damage there. And we may go to the Joint Commission and see if we can figure it out. If we can't do it this way, we'll see, though. That makes sense. Okay, is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
There's a motion to report and re-refer to finance. Just to let you know, there's a fiscal impact that is undetermined on the state health plan, at least in a previous version. So in case we pass it, we would need to send it upstairs. All right, there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 4, nays 11.
Yeas 4, nays 11. So the bill does not report. Delegate, are you, if we are in this position, are you okay if we send this subject matter and we'll get together there and figure out that along with some of the PBM issues? That makes sense to you, sir?
Sounds
Yes.
good.
Okay. Therefore, without objection, the vote will be reversed and the bill will be PBI'd. We'll send a subject matter to the Joint Commission to see if we can figure out this portion and Senator Donovan's concerns about some of the PBIs. Thank you for coming by, sir.
Thank you.
Next up is Delegate Thomas. Delegate Thomas, you want to come to us on 2137?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the committee heard this bill just after crossover, Senators Peterson and Howell wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page and we had it right. Since then, I visited all your offices, dropped off a one-page explains why it's so important to the community. Also a letter of endorsement from the Virginia Association for the Deaf. And I believe Senator Howell even reached out to a national organization. So I think we're all on the same page now.
All right, so Senator
Mr.
Howell,
Chairman?
yes.
I really appreciate your delay, and I'm sorry it meant the delegate had to sit here all morning. But we did reach out to the Alexander Graham Bell Foundation. They are very supportive of the bill, so my concerns are completely taken care of.
Perfect.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Peterson.
I always think that each session is a learning experience, so I learned a little bit that I hadn't before, so I thank the delegate for educating me, and I'd be happy to move to report at this point.
Perfect. And we heard testimony last time, both for and against, and the only concern was, I think, the concerns you just heard. Is there a motion on the bill?
Report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All those in favor record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
15-0, the bill is reported. Senator, Delegate, you have House Bill 2140, which we've been working on for a while. I've asked Council to maybe come up with an amendment. The committee will decide to do it or not. What the amendment does is this is a school opening bill, and what the delegate had was he had a version that just would create another exemption. This bill basically indicates that it's somewhat contingent upon what we know of as the Chase Robinson bill. And Tom, why don't you take us through the enactment clause in this bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Thomas. The substitute lines 11 through 40 are Delegate Thomas's introduced bill. Then on line 41, there's an enactment saying that the provisions of the first enactment, Delegate Thomas's first bill, shall not become effective if either the Senator Chase or Delegate Robinson bill becomes law. The third enactment says that any school board, any school division that was not granted a good cause waiver in 2018, 2019, but would qualify for such a waiver as that law was in effect for the 2019-2020 school year may set the school calendar so that the first day students are required to attend is earlier than 14 days before Labor Day. So that would say that those who would qualify for a 2019-2020 exemption would be treated the same as those who had a 2018-2019 exemption in the Chase Robinson bill. The next line of that enactment says, additionally, the school board of any school division that's entirely surrounded by two school divisions that were either granted a waiver pursuant to the 2012 Appropriations Act or would qualify for the 2019-2020 may open schools on the same opening date as either such surrounding school division. So that says if you're surrounded by two school divisions that have those waivers who can open earlier than 14 days, you may open your schools on the same day, opening date as either. And then the fourth enactment says that the third enactment, which I just explained, only becomes law if the Chase Robinson bills become law.
So if I could, I know it's complex, but I think this gets us into conference, and if the Robinson bill passes, we can pass out a very clean bill, but the delegate has brought to us a very, very unique situation. We just, in the other bill, eliminated all the waivers out and codified those, and I think, Delegate, you're okay with this version. You can reject it, and we can go into conference if we need to.
Yes,
right?
Mr. Chairman. Very creative with the enactment clauses. My problem is City of Fredericksburg, under the current law, is the only school district in the entire planning district that doesn't start before Labor Day. So the way we've crafted this, no matter what happens to the compromise bills that are really big policy issues, my problem gets fixed either way. So I really appreciate the work.
Thank you. Are there those that are here to speak in favor of? Are you good with it? Is there anyone here speaking in opposition? Just make sure I know if anybody's here in opposition. I mean, we'd love to hear from you, but I think we're probably good.
Mr. Chairman, it's really good. It makes sure the baby doesn't get thrown out with the bathwater.
We understand.
So we really.
And in conference, we'll do that.
Chairman Tom Smith, Superintendent Associate, we're in favor of it.
Okay. All right. There's anyone in opposition, although some of the travel industry, anyone here, I think we're okay with everyone. All right. Is the substitute that has now been explained, is there a motion to adopt the substitute? So motion is second that we adopt the substitute. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. And the substitute's agreed to. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? There's a motion that the bill as amended be reported. All those in favor will record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. And the clerk will close the roll.
Yeas 14, nays 1.
All right. Thank you. And Delegate, thanks for sitting through. So to the committee, I want to say that we have actually finished our work at 10:25. I'm grateful for all the work and also thankful for all the subcommittees and all the work that's been done this time. So very good. Thank you all, and the committee will rise.